punchline is that this woman has remained consistent in the struggle and has never dropped the principles that she accepted nearly 50 years ago. She's as strong now with greater wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and you will find her on the front line of struggle today. She didn't retire, and she didn't go down before the revolution. Told me to tell the brother and sister Panthers there's no such thing as retirement for a Panther. Well, I'm done now. I did my part. I'm sorry. You still alive? You got knowledge. You got history. You know the struggle. There's no point in you being reduced to cussing at the television.
Right.
But that's what you're doing now.
Right.
Man, what the hell are they on? You're reduced to cussing the television out. When you need to be re-upping for a second tour of duty. The revolution needs you. There are young people out there that have the spirit to fight, but they don't know what you know.
Exactly.
Sister Elaine was outside introducing me. Now, minister, you need to meet this brother right here and this brother right here. These are soldiers. They took bullets for the revolution. And these are unassuming men and women that paid a hell of a price. Time and destiny has preserved you. For what? Because there's a lot of young warriors, your grandchildren. They're not afraid to die, and they're not afraid to kill. They just don't know what to die for and who to kill.
There you go. You gotta say that again.
So you warriors, you so-called old-timers, dust your leather coat off, dust your beret off, check in with Sister Elaine, and get your assignment. Lastly, Cointelpro worked on the inside of the nation. Cointelpro worked on the inside of the Panther Party. And the aim was to turn Muslims against Muslims, Panthers against Panthers, so that we would turn inward and see each other as the enemy. Now let me say this as a man that's been in structured organization for 32 years. Not over on the side, but on the front line. You cannot be a part of any group, organization, nation, or anything else and not have disagreement, infighting, jealousies, envy, and even hatred among people who claim to believe like you believe. That's impossible. Willie Lynch said, I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. The aim of Cointelpro was to discredit, misdirect, and neutralize black organizations and groups. Now, when the federal government uses the term neutralize, that has deep-coded meaning. In the Nation of Islam, if you read the Cointelpro documents, and we owe a great debt of gratitude to those white activists who love truth and justice. On the night that Muhammad Ali was fighting Smoking Joe Frazier. And the whole country was watching that fight at Madison Square Garden in 1971. A group of committed white activists broke into the FBI office and took the documents that we now know is the Cointelpro case. Those are the real patriots.
Thank you.
Edward Snowden is a patriot. Daniel Ellsberg is a patriot. So these are people that knew their government was wrong and were willing to put it all on the line to expose the government's evil toward its own citizens. Lastly, the effort was designed in these words. Now listen to these words very carefully. We must prevent the rise of a Messiah. I don't even think they said black Messiah. I think the document actually says Messiah, who could unify and electrify the masses of black people. And the oppressor, like Pharaoh during the time of Moses, like Herod during the time of Jesus, they were scanning, looking for this child, this male child, because they knew it was about that time. And they knew the 60s produced a general revolution of consciousness, so the enemy worked to splinter the movement. In those days, in the early 60s, when I was a little boy, there was only two movements. You either were part of integration and the civil rights movement, or separation and the Nation of Islam. And there was great debate in the high schools and on the college campuses among young blacks as to what road they want to take. And Martin Luther King and others were preaching nonviolent civil rights, integration, and there were young warriors in the community that said, after listening to Malcolm, I'm not turning the other cheek. I will fight my enemy. If two-legged dogs sick four-legged dogs, then you kill the dog. This is Malcolm talking. And that's the Malcolm that the Panther Party fell in love with. Ballot or the bullet. By any means necessary. They didn't necessarily fall in love with the Muslim Malcolm. Am I making sense? Yes. They didn't necessarily fall in love with the Nation of Islam structure and religious Malcolm, or the Malcolm who left and became an Orthodox Muslim who traveled the Muslim world. That wasn't what fully attracted the Panthers and SNCC and other young people that formed organizations like the Revolutionary Action Movement. It was the Malcolm with the rifle talking about ballot or the bullet. Unless I'm wrong. All right. See, history is very important. And if you're a sincere observer of revolution, or you're in fact involved in some aspect of our struggle, then you will be a careful student of history. So as I conclude my portion, and we want you to ask any question that's on your heart, we have answers by God's grace. When Brother Malcolm was the national spokesman, he was getting press, he was being invited to universities all over the country as an 8th grade student. His teacher went to the 4th grade of school. So we're talking about a body of knowledge that you don't get in Harvard, Berkeley, Stanford, Yale, Sorbonne in Paris, Oxford in England. It ain't happening. You're not going to get what Brother Malcolm taught and what Minister Farrakhan teaches when you got a man that produces students like Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali. Then you got to look at the tree. If there was a black man that went to the 4th grade of school from Sandersville, Georgia, then you need to re-examine the tree that produced that fruit. I'm coming to you straight today. And I want you to question us, because we got answers.
Come on.
And so what I want to say to you is that the FBI said in their documents, quote, factional disputes have been created in the Nation of Islam, most notably Malcolm X. Well, when you create a factional dispute, you get inside that organization and you ride jealousy, you ride envy. You find those who feel like the student is taking something from the teacher. Why are you shining? You're not the leader. These are natural jealousies. Like Dr. Huey P. Newton living in a penthouse. And some of the soldiers sleeping on the floor, and the enemy puts an article in the paper to cause you to look at your leader like he's wasting your money and living large and living lavish on your sacrifice. This is how the enemy busts up movement. And that jealousy, that envy was in the nation. And the enemy manipulated that. And Malcolm felt the pressure of envy and jealousy. I know something about that, because I live this reality. But so damn what? I committed to the revolution. Then I should not leave until a pine box drives me up out of here. Up until then, like Elaine Brown, her boots are on. She haven't flinched. And we want to get into the murder of Brother Malcolm. Who were the men that they sent to prison? Were they really guilty? Not only was Gene Roberts his security man, but who else was around Malcolm that told him, don't search at the Audubon Ballroom that day? We would have searched you today, but this is not our event. We got a lot to talk about. Somebody told him don't search that day. Somebody trusted. So we got a lot to talk about, and I bring you back to my sister, the legendary Elaine.
I think one of the things that we have to look at in terms of this piece, and then we can take some questions before it gets to be too late, because some of us are going to have a beautiful dinner afterward at 7 o'clock. But a similar thing happens, of course, in the Black Panther Party. But the relationship that we attempted to bring here in terms of this forum was the fact that there's a guy named Gene Roberts, as one example that we absolutely know of, is an admitted FBI agent, not an informant. Anybody can come into a room and give them $10 or something, and they'll just sit here and report out what happened. But Gene Roberts had a mission, and his mission wasn't just to sit there and observe, even though that's part of what he said, so casually, by the way. Ran outside and ran back to the ballroom and checked Malcolm out, mainly to see that he was actually dead. But Gene Roberts then finds himself in the New York 21 case. I don't know if you realize what William Kunstler was saying. This same guy has wound his way into the Black Panther on certain instincts and ego and all the things that come from our not keeping our eye on the prize and being very self-centered and self-involved. And so the thing with Huey, when Ed Montgomery, who was the same Ed Montgomery that printed a piece years before this, said that Master Fard was a white man, right? Yeah. And so they're like, oh, Fard was white. White boy tells you this, like, you're reading the paper now, suddenly truth is in the paper. Like, you don't read the paper. So people are reading the Ed Montgomery piece in the Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, say, I can't believe it. Huey's living in that penthouse, and we down here working hard. And to this day, You got some old, broke down Panthers. Some of us are still standing, everybody ain't. And I'll be real too. So as you know. So the point is, you got some old people still harboring the jealousy from that one article written by the same Ed Montgomery that tried to do this same propaganda thing on the Nation of Islam. But the nexus is between Gene Roberts. How does Gene Roberts get on the stage with Malcolm X and then end up as a part of the Black Panther Party and encouraging people? So this is what his encouragement was. He's, you know, you go to a brother and you say, if y'all were really serious, you talking all this militant stuff, y'all ain't doing nothing but serving breakfast.
Right.
You just some punks, really. And if you were any kind of men, they ain't go in women because we nobody dealt with that. If you were any kind of men, you'd be blowing up some buildings, kidnapping some people, doing something, get some spunk up in here.
Right.
And the brothers are like, yeah, I'm not gonna be no punk serving no breakfast program.
Right.
What should we do? Well, I got an idea. Let's blow up the botanical gardens and kill some plants. You know, I'm gonna kill some plants, and I'm gonna go into Bloomingdale's and kill some perfume bottles, but also a bunch of people that are now, the whole world's gonna turn on you. And this was why the Black Panther Party never supported any type of terrorist act, because this is not organizing our people for revolution. Right. This is alienating our people, okay? So anyway, these people get caught up in a conspiracy actually created by Gene Roberts. The same Gene Roberts that's on the stage at the Audubon Ballroom, and I don't know if you heard this, but he said, I know that 2 of the people who were convicted weren't there because I was the chief of security. And we wouldn't have let them in, but somebody got in with a gun. And so that's how it goes. And we don't know a lot. And so we have to revisit some of what we think. We had the same thing in the Black Panther Party. We had people telling one group of people, well, you know, we don't like David Hilliard. He's keeping the Black Panther Party as a breakfast for children club. And so we need to figure out how we can get rid of this group, and the left wing, the hardcore, the real men, and the real revolutionaries can take over. And ended up in a public debacle in which we had nothing but bloodshed thereafter, totally diverted from our mission, our goal, and to this minute, in this audience, you're going to have people who took a side, felt like this was wrong and that was wrong, even though we shed and lost a lot of people, shed a lot of blood. So one of the things that we have to use from these examples is, one thing that people don't know about the relationship that the Black Panther Party had with the nation, which wasn't just through Malcolm X. Who was the Malcolm X who was always speaking on behalf as the representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? We forget that. We reinvented Malcolm as someone else. There was a whole lot of people who said, oh no, we don't want to have anything to do with the Muslims. So there was that piece, but there's also the fact that our 10-point platform and program was almost lifted verbatim from the back of what was then called Muhammad's speech. Now maybe you don't realize that, but just go look at it. Now all of it isn't the same. We had our other principles, we had our other things that we did. But if you look at the back of Muhammad Speaks, you will see that the 10-point platform and program of the nation was very similar in language to the goals that we set forth as the Black Panther Party. The reason that I felt this was an important opportunity for us to take this 50-year, sort of to go down memory lane, but not just that, is because it's important for us today. We are holding on to old myths, and we are holding on to old ideas that are keeping us divided. People can't understand why I'm so close and friendly with Christopher Muhammad. And some people would probably say, well, look at Elaine, she's looking crazy as she could be. She ain't covered, you know what I mean? And I've never had anyone say to me, well, we would like for you to dress a little differently or be a little different or anything like that. I'm not a Muslim, but we have a relationship around the principle of the liberation of black and all oppressed people. And so I felt this was an opportunity because both of us speak so frankly that we could say, we're going to stand together right now. People are going to be shocked a little bit by this, but it's time for us to, we might not put the mystery to bed, but we can examine how did we come here and we hate each other. The same thing happened very recently to me. And young people don't know, they think Cointelpro back in the day.
Right.
And everything is like different now,
Right.
and we have all this different stuff. And that was your generation. And this is our generation. I've had people tell me, you're not in this generation. Well, I'm waiting for you to, I'm ready to be a soldier. I'm tired as I can be. I'm ready to follow. I'm not ready to keep on getting out here at this age, running down there on Broadway, stopping up the freeway, old as I am. But the point is, only the other day, a white, I'm not supposed to say white boy, am I? A white guy wrote an irrelevant white guy from London in some little online magazine, wrote a headline that said, Elaine Brown says, and then he puts quotes around it, Black Lives Matter has a plantation mentality. And a whole bunch of people started talking about it. Now, they ain't even asked him something. Did she actually say that? Nobody called me up and said, well, as soon as a white man in something called spike that anybody ever heard of. And the only reason you're talking about it now because it's me. And I don't say that egotistically or egocentrically. I say that because you can't tell me the name of the author. Probably forgot it was Spike. Because we living off this Instagram hashtag, Facebook, sending out message about your play cousin's birthday.
Please.
Like nobody cares. Just caught up in nothing. But as soon as some arbitrary person from some arbitrary online thing, it was on the internet. It must be true. Yeah. Now, black people used to be a little bit smarter than what we used to say. It's in the jet. It's got to be true. Yeah. The jet because it was like the Bible, the jet. Back in the day, you had your Bible here, you had your jet spread out, you had your Ebony magazine spread out. And if it wasn't in jet, it's not true that it is in jet. It's true, it's But here we have turned to a white man in England to become the jet magazine of our day. And he's going to say something about what I said and say something, and then you're going to have a response. People trying to jack me up. I'm prepared to be jacked up. I ain't standing here because I'm dumb.
Power to the people.
That's how you get it going.
Come on.
Oh, Elaine Brown, Black Lives Matter, they don't like all of this. People don't like Christopher Muhammad. We have an organization we're working with talking about it's homophobic. We talking about Mario Woods, and they talking about gay pride. And that doesn't mean that there's no issue there, but this is the Mario Woods piece. But you get people who come in with their hurt feelings and their egos and all this, and the FBI starts feeding them information, and we go for the okie doke, as we used to say way back in the day. So here's the okie doke just the other day. So I get to this call, and I call this white man. No, I don't call him. I find the interviewer's name, and I have an email, and I forgot all about it. And I sent him an email. I said, I want to hear from you within an hour. And it's like 10 seconds later, my phone rang, and he was like, I'm really, really sorry. I didn't mean, oh, no, you meant this. Now, I can't say what I said, and even my daughter can't repeat what I said. But anyway, I told him that I wanted a retraction and that he was a liar. You can't produce anything where I said this. I said, but what I did say, I stand on what I say. I'm not afraid to have an opinion about something and take the criticism for him if I'm wrong. That's the one thing we learned of those of us who are in the Black Panther Party and in the nation. We learn as an organization to take that discipline. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Stand up and say you're sorry. You ain't going to do it again. Or take whatever is coming to you for having done it in the first place. That's how it goes. But you have to get into that organizational mindset so you can be conscious of what is happening. So all these different people call me and tell me this guy, and I scream and holler at him. The bottom line, though, is everybody believed him. In 1 second, they said, this is viral. You know, like, what you don't have nothing else to talk about. You ain't said nothing about when Obama killed Gaddafi. Everybody, they didn't even know Gaddafi wasn't involved in the Arab Spring. Whatever the thing was that they kept saying. Didn't even know where Libya is. Can't spell Afghanistan. Don't know where it is. You don't care about them killing people in Afghanistan. But some little guy from England puts a little headline that is an incorrect quote. You're viral. That's where we are now, for real. So some of this has to be viewed as the operations of the government. Keep your mind off the struggle. Let's just get diverted and talk about anything but the struggle for the liberation of black and oppressed people. But the answer is, the whole Black Lives Matter people, some of them, and they don't even know each other. And like the people come and say, I said, well, didn't you talk to this? No. And so what I said was that we needed to talk about organization. And that Black Lives Matter is a slogan, is an idea, and that it needs to have some substance to it. Right. It needs to have some place to go to and come from. And I'm not criticizing the individuals that feel like and want to participate in the struggle, but let's face back. Just take a look at when the nation said the police not coming up in here. Look at what the Black Panther Party did. You can't find what is going on today. So there's things that you have to understand why. Because you've been divided already against me, calling me out as if you don't have just crazy call. This is how Cointelpro operates. Don't get it. It's not some old thing. It's right now. It may have minor variation, but it's right now. The brother in Dallas is charged with shooting 6 or 7 cops, right? Now, first of all, how many of you were on the witness stand and could say he killed any cops? That's number one. But we bought that right away, right? Like Lavelle Mixon. Those of you from this area. Right. Lavelle Mixon, he's done the most miraculous thing in the world. He's killed these 4 cops. Like I don't know how he got in a car. He made him feel filthy and an AK-47. He's like a miracle, you know, and so we don't know who Lavelle Mixon killed because the case was shut down. And that's the same thing with the brother in Dallas. Everybody got scared. They started renouncing violence. Well, no, I don't adhere to no violence now. You know, no self-defense, so forth and so on. We've got to get back to this. And I think the example and the question of how does this Nation of Islam and the Black Panther Party relate as to the FBI Cointelpros, outside of being both targeted, outside of both being, you know, assassinations going on left and right. Fred Hampton, we know one absolute case of assassination by the FBI that we have proof of for the Black Panther Party. But it creates fear and doubt. And then we begin to say, okay, well, this person's not with us. You're not going to criticize Hillary Clinton. You're going to ask Hillary Clinton, how does she feel about black people? This warmonger who has denounced black people in so many different ways is super predator. And you're not going to criticize her. So you're going to ask her, how does she feel? But you're going to come down on me and ask me about this little piece of paper that some guy in England wrote that's online and doesn't. This is what we have to stop. And I think I was asking Minister Christopher to come here so that we could have this opportunity to stand together and say we are together in struggle. We are not apart. And no matter what anyone wants to say, we are not 100% agreement on every single thing. But we don't have to be because we're still keeping our eyes on the prize. I think we should take some questions.
I'm Jocelyn Imani from Washington, D.C.
Can't hear you, sister.
Hello. Can you hear me now? How y'all doing?
Good.
I'm Jocelyn Imani from Washington, D.C. Two-part question. First, were you ever able to catch any agents and informants before their missions were successful in either movement? And 2, what are the lessons learned from Cointelpro that you could pass on to the next generation?
Only that.
Well, you know, one of the things that the enemy, meaning the government, does is to create. The government has been our worst enemy, then and now. one of the things they do, sister, is to create an atmosphere of suspicion. See, if I can point to you and say, well, you know, you look like an agent. Now, the agent is probably doing the pointing. See? So, you know, there are people who you don't know by their declarations or their oath or their bold expressions. See? So some of the strongest talking people could be the very thing that they're talking about. Well, how do you differentiate? How do you find this out? Well, you know people by their work. See, your work is the common denominator. That is what defines you, describes you, and lets others know who you are. Now, in the Nation of Islam, as part of our structure, it's forbidden to gossip, to slander, to engage in loose talk about somebody. See, we don't do that, theoretically. You know, man, I sure don't like Sister Elaine. You know, she did so-and-so and such and such. Yeah, I agree, man, I didn't know that. Yeah, and she did so-and-so. See, we're taught, no. If you got a problem with Sister Elaine, you go to Sister Elaine. And if you bring me something about her, then me and you are going to go find her so that she can know what you said about her. And then you see people moonwalking. So every organization or structured entity has to have rules of engagement so that we don't falsely accuse one another and then learn that this person was not that. See, that's how the enemy works, you know. And so one of the lessons learned when I was speaking to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan today, he said, what are the lessons that we're to draw from our Panther Party experience, our Nation of Islam experience? You know, this is the lesson now. Malcolm has a daughter named Kubila Shabazz. And the FBI, through entrapment, tried to get Kubila on record to say she wanted to assassinate Minister Farrakhan. And that this white informant, Fitzpatrick, would be hired by Kubila to do the job. And the FBI had it all orchestrated. And then they sent an agent to the Nation of Islam and the minister to say, we have arrested Kubila Shabazz because of this plot to assassinate you, you know, and we just wanted you to know that we caught Malcolm X's daughter trying to kill you, you understand, because of her anger over your role in the assassination of her father. Now, you know, in the nation, people are upset. You trying to kill a minister? And you know what Minister Farrakhan did? He said, no, that's a setup.
Right.
That's my little sister. No, we're not going to oppose her. We're going to expose the government. That's a lesson learned. Because they were trying to heighten so that those that were sympathetic would naturally support the daughter. Those who loved the minister would naturally stand and defend the minister. And then the old drama play out on 60 Minutes, CBS, NBC, You understand? At a time when we were trying to organize our people for the 1,000,000-man march. See, the enemy is crafty. But the lesson learned from Cointelpro is that Minister Farrakhan didn't guide us to bite the bait.
That's right.
And Kubila was spared going to prison because the nation organized around the country to support Kubila Shabazz and to arrest the informant Plant that entrapped her and egged her on to do what she would never want to do on her own. Now, ultimately, that led because Betty Shabazz is a mother who was pained over her daughter possibly facing prison. And when the minister took that divinely guided position of support, that produced a reconciliation between Betty Shabazz and Minister Farrakhan. Because they were family. Minister Farrakhan lived at the home of Brother Malcolm. And Betty Shabazz lived at the home of Minister Farrakhan. These were family members who were close at one time. But the enemy drew a wedge, as they say in the song. There's a thin line between love and hate. Because love and hate is the same emotion, except it's in opposite directions.
That's right.
So as much as you love somebody, that love can flip in an instant. And you see us talking on the phone with somebody we love and can't wait to hear their voice and can't wait to talk to them, fall asleep on the phone, talking to your boyfriend or girlfriend, and then 6 months later you avoid the call. What turns you? What caused you to turn? Why did Jesus go from Hosanna, Hosanna on Palm Sunday to crucify him on Good Friday 5 days later? What flipped the people? Cointelpro. They didn't call it. Cointelpro wasn't called that. But if you read the New Testament, Jesus was challenging the Roman government. And the Roman government sent the IRS of that day after Jesus. And Jesus smooth got out of that by saying, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Render unto God that which is God. But that was entrapment. They sent people to spy on him in his meetings to try to catch him in his words. Like some people in here are here recording for no good real purpose except to find something you can use for evil. We know you. You're not new. But the interesting thing is the enemy has technology. They don't even need you to do that. They're just using you. And one day they're going to flip and turn you out like they did Gene Roberts. And you have to come home to your own people. Who's next? I know you got questions now. Let's hear some questions.
I have a question.
Yes, my sister.
You jumped on up.
My name is Alicia Bell. I'm currently organizing in this movement for Black liberation. So my question is this: I think throughout this time you've talked about how you all have been able to come together and have been very clear around your goals on Black power, Black liberation, Black freedom, all of these things, right? And so and building this unified Black struggle where we do all come together, I'm wondering how we move towards building that when we know that there are real life Black women and there are real life Black people who hate Black women. And we know that there are real life Black queer people, and we know that there are real life Black people who hate queer people. So how do we build a Black liberation that holds every single one of those Black people?
Yeah.
Sister Elaine is going to speak to this as well. The oppressor keeps us at each other. Never forget that. Willie Lynch said, I take the male and divide it against the female, the young against the old, the light against the dark. And you can't say Willie Lynch wasn't real, because the reality, whether he's Willie Lynch or Joe Lynch, the reality is this is what was done to us.
Right.
Now, how do you, sister, what did you learn in school about the nature of fractions? See, how do you bring fraction to a whole number? You find the least common denominator. We may not agree on everything. We may not agree on communism versus scientific socialism. We may not agree on Islam versus Christianity. But we're not dying because of Islam versus Christianity. We're dying because we're black. Are you with me? Nobody's asking us what is our ideology when they stop us. So now we can come together on that common denominator. Yes, you're my sister. Yes. You're my brother. You have to tell me what your preference is, because I don't know. It's not important to me. That is your personal business. And it's none of mine. But the question is, do we want justice for Mario Wood? Do we want justice for Oscar Grant? Do we want justice for Alex Nieto or Mike Brown? Or Trayvon Martin? If we agree that they should be alive today, and if we can agree on that, that becomes the basis for organizing our people. And there are white allies, there's Latino family, there's Asian family. We'll find people who can agree on that. And that's what we've been blessed to do with our coalition in San Francisco and the Bay Area. This is what we were blessed to do to fight for justice for Oscar Grant, where we got a DA who persecuted the Panther Party, Orlaw, and we got him to resign and charge that officer with murder for the first time in California history, where they were united on the lowest common denominator. So let's don't focus on wavy hair versus kinky hair versus straight hair versus weave, or light versus dark, or whether or not you're a Muslim, or what kind of Muslim are you? Sunni? No, Shia? No, Hanbali? I'm sorry. Orthodox? Nation of Islam? Well, what kind of Muslim? Now we're divided on the principles of Islam. Well, what kind of Christian are you? God in Christ? You Methodist? You're AME, or we don't talk to God in Christ. Well, we'll get confused out on the branches. But when you want to find commonality, you go to the root.
I want to say something else very specifically, because there's a whole question about gender and women. And I've had women come up to me and say, well, what was it like to be, how could you be in the Black Panther Party? As though some brothers were like, raping us every day and beating us up or something like this. And I always say, first and foremost, that we transformed that because everyone in the party was strapped, okay? So you didn't just roll up on a sister. We strapped, so look. But the point is, and we had the discipline to know that, there were things that you could and could not do. Were we perfect? Did we execute that properly? Not at all. There were a lot of errors. But I always say, where do we get these brothers from? Revolutionary heaven? No. We didn't come from revolutionary heaven either. We still talking about a bunch of gender issues that are based on a European model in the first place. Like, people used to say back in the day, the first so-called first wave of feminists, not called bourgeois feminists, out of the kitchen and into the street. Remember that one? Yeah. Out of the kitchen and into the street. My mother said, yeah, child, I want to get out the kitchen, your kitchen. So, the point is, we have to have an analysis that's correct. It's not only a question of our goal, but how does this fit into our goal? Am I going to now have to spend the rest of life talking about how I suffered as a child because I was confused about my identity because, as I've written many times, and I'm not proud to say it, but these are the realities of living in America in a dual, in trying to be a black and a white man's world, as we used to say. Right. That I had to come through all the questions of being black. White people would tell me, you're not really like other black people. You're articulate. You don't really look like them.
Yeah.
And I would think, wow, this is great. I've been accepted. My black life matters. And so my struggle, my little independent struggle becomes the definition of the struggle? No, that's not the definition of the struggle. If we're in the Mario Woods piece and trying to find some sort of minimal justice, if we can call it that, for these cops that killed this young brother, then why are we having an argument with him? I feel there's homophobia in the room. I feel there's chauvinism in the room. I definitely feel some racism up in here. Right. So, are we really going to now have a discussion about my problems and how I feel about what you say about how I feel about me? Because this is how I identify myself and you're not respecting me? Or are we going to talk about Marion Wood? That's the point. Now that doesn't diminish and it doesn't mean we have competing interests, because we don't. All of these interests are important. But at this moment, we're talking about the big liberation question. And we're not talking about whether black men and black women have competing interests. And I want to say this, Minister Christopher, because you know it's important for me to say this. This notion that we fall in the same paradigm as white people is where we start going off. Now, you know, how did we get here? We have history in the United States. We are African people. We are lost in America. Here's two concepts of African American. I'm trying to figure that one out. Africans lost in America. And here we are, 250 years, we had equal oppression as slaves. Right. I did not get a special privilege because I was a woman, the little woman at home, making little biscuits and stuff. I took the lash like a man. Sojourner Truth says, ain't I a woman too? But no, you were not. You were just a slave. My man didn't have the, oh, let me go out and get a good job and take care of my family. You know, this wasn't happening. Wait, I didn't have a family. I wasn't allowed to have a family. 250 years. So our experience is not gender-based. Our experience is slave-based. And my brother, who might even want to be my enemy, can't be it because he's not in control of his own existence. We are soldiers in the army together. Now, I have had white women say to me, well, you're a lackey for a black man or whatever. You know, I would say, well, I can't say it, I forgot. So, but will say to me, you call us all sisters and brothers under the sun, which I believe with all my heart and all my soul. Why don't you call me sister? Because you're not my sister in the sense that you don't know what it's like to be me. Any more than I know what it's like to be you, but I get the drill. And in my case, my man can't get a job, so we ain't gonna have the little patriarchal structure we have in the first place, okay? I've got to work. I've got to do these things. And if my man, I'm not gonna allow somebody to beat me up and rape me and all that. I mean, this is a death penalty, so that's a wrap right there. But the point is, on a day-to-day, we have to not allow our own minds to say, you're not concerned about the women who are killed. Now I'm going to hit the hard notes right now. You don't care about the women that were killed. You only care about the men. And the women are not being paid, as though we control the establishment media. Like, how stupid are you? I ain't seen nobody gathering around and taking up the cause of Yvette Henderson here on the East Bay. Come on. But Jessica Williams is dead over there. We're all working for Jessica Williams too. That's right. We don't forgot who Jessica Williams is. Half the people don't even know. So we talk about, well, nobody cares about it. Wait, people do care. Where's your caring? Right. You want to be the woman, do the woman thing against the man thing? All that conversation about Nate Parker? Spent all that time on Black Twitter? I said, what the hell is Black Twitter have to do? Twittering? Wait, you using some white man's invention, which is about just the word Twitter is irritating. gossip, Twitter. You gonna spend time denouncing Nate Parker?
Who was
Really?
acquitted
Who was
for raping a white woman
raping
in America.
But just a minute. I know a lot about rape. I'm a woman.
Right.
I'm not gonna allow anyone to rape me. I tell everybody, you can beat me up, but you will have to kill Elaine.
That's right.
Because if I live, I might be broke down in the hospital. If I get up out of surgery and I can make it, it's gonna get rough.
All right.
You're not gonna do it. I take my example from Inez Garcia and Joanne Little. It's a wrap on the rapists. But that's not the issue, is it? We want to be